name is Steelbeck, and the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. It's Friday. It's time to crank open the video vault, and thankfully, I am not opening it on my own. It's not going to be like what's the name, Geraldo when he went into Al Capone's vault and found nothing. We're going into the vault tonight, and we're finding something very, very fun. So we have a wonderful panel with us tonight. So I'm going to start with who should we start with? The Mega Geek. How are you? Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you.
It's afternoon, or is it? Yeah,
good. He is good.
I'm all right.
And then sorry.
I said I'm all right. How are you?
I am all right too. Next we have a being. We have a being who's a bit of a problem. Problem being, how are you?
Hello, Rabbi. Shalom.
Hello.
Good to be here as always.
Welcome, and welcome. And then we have Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Birmingham the King of the Geeks, live from Brum is Dan Hadley, the Spacebook. How are you? Good evening. Good afternoon.
Wait for it. Howdy, partners.
and joining the regular panel, we have two esteemed guests. Firstly, we have another man of the cloth, another member of the clergy, probably a more legitimate one than me, because I think my rabbinical ordination may have been I may be defrocked. So, but we have a real priest here tonight. Well, not priest, I say Father Christopher Miller. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. So when I just posted the trailer on Facebook, and Father Miller got in contact, said you just bought the Blu-ray, right? You already had the DVD.
Blu-ray, right? So I had to buy it because I figured that's the next one on this list of getting canceled.
Yeah,
so I wanted to get it before it's gone.
You're a physical media, baby. And last but
no
means least, we have Noel from the Tardis. Let me just add you to the stream. Noel, how are you? Good evening, good afternoon.
Hello, how's everybody?
Very, very good. Now, Noel, it sounds like there's more than one person there with you.
I do. I have my beautiful wife, Cheryl, who's going to be, obviously, she has watched this movie tons of time, and she obviously has a lot to say. So if you hear Cheryl piping in on my behalf, well, on our own behalf, I suppose.
Fine.
Cheryl, you know what I mean?
Sorry?
So, Rabbi, with Cheryl as well, does this make us the Magnificent Seven?
Oh!
I think that's the Magnificent Seven. At least one of us who can't see us.
Very fitting, very fitting.
Right, let me just pull up some.
And Teddy, we got Teddy.
From the movie. We've got Ted with us as well. The regular.
So it's the Magnificent Eight or something.
Yes. I must mention, just in case you hear him bark. I'm a huge fan of Ian Wilder. Anyway, my favourite movie of his, obviously, growing up as a kid, would obviously be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I was actually, he only recently passed away, didn't he? Or was it last year he passed away?
That's a year or two.
Yeah. When he passed away, I was pretty, I was gutted. He's a good actor.
So this movie came out in 1974, which is
when I wasn't born yet.
This is the beginning of Gene Wilder at his absolute height. I would say. This is where he's just entering the stratosphere of his fame, and he went from here to teaming up with Richard Pryor, who was a co-writer on this movie, to do Silver Street. They did a bunch of movies together. It was a very unlikely combination.
And it worked so well.
It did work so well, didn't it? So what we normally do is I try and walk through the plot of the movie. There is going to be spoilers, but it doesn't really matter because I just finished watching this movie about an hour ago, and it struck me that it's a live action Bugs Bunny cartoon. It's essentially what it is.
That's exactly what it is. It's so it's so funny. It is.
It really is. Although I would say the first 20 minutes, it kind of like treads water. That first 20 minutes, it's I would say reasonably forgettable. It only really, I think, picks up when let's start off. It starts off at the beginning. They're digging train tracks. These what's his name again? Bart, played by
Cleveland.
Cleveland Little,
Yeah.
who unfortunately passed away many years ago now, I think 92. They're digging train tracks, and there is a very good scene where the white people running the train tracks want the workers, and I can't say the N word. I'm sorry.
This is going to be so difficult because there's so many words in this that are so vital to the plot.
I know. They try to get them to sing a good old fashioned book song they sung when they were slaves, and that's a really good scene. That's a really good opening gag because they like, oh, we don't know. They sing this very like erudite song, and they go, no, Camptown Lady, and they got them all singing Camptown Lady. And
they're doing the whitest way possible, So it's, Camptown, sing this song.
And they got,
it's so embarrassing.
They play it well. I love that all the hand movements, all the hand gestures, and then they say they think there's some quicksand down the Rhine, and they said, well, we'll send some horses. I'm like, we can't afford horses. Send a couple of I can't say it, the N-word. So they sent him and his friend down on the track. And they get caught in the quicksand, and they're drowning. Then the cowboys show up, and they say, "Oh, pass me a rope!" And they pull out the little train thing they were on, and leave them in there to die. So they crawl out. They manage to crawl out.
Yeah, because that cost $400.
Yeah, that's a lot of money back in. This was set in 1874, which is 100 years before it came out. So $400. That must be like $50,000 back then or something. Like what was an annual salary? Who knows? Okay. So and then they throw a shovel down and said, "Here, you make some good use of this." He picks up the shovel. Was it Slim Pickings? It's Slim Pickings. It's freaking fantastic in this movie.
One of the most perfectly cast movies in the history of cinema.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. There's an old guy in it, and I'm pretty sure it's Harrison Ford. Or is that a Bubba Meister? Or was he really Harrison Ford? I should look this up. Has anybody heard that before?
I think it's on Harrison Ford.
Well, he's like Harrison Ford now, I guess.
Well, Harrison Ford was a stagehand, wasn't he? He was a carpenter on sets before he became an actor. So no, I don't think.
I'm looking up his IMDb. See if he's in it. I thought his first, like one of his earliest movies was Apocalypse Now, which was 4 years after this. And so let's have a look. 83 credits. Let's go through his full filmography.
He was also in Kung Fu as well. There's an episode of Kung Fu.
Really? I'm looking at it right now. 74 was in Kung Fu: The Conversation. He did well. No, he was not in Blazing Saddles. That was a Bubba Meister. Look at that.
Frisco Kid. That's the Frisco Kid you're thinking of.
Oh no, Frisco Kid. He was very he was very front and center. Frisco Kid, also starring Gene Wilder. Another great movie, by the way. It's like another really huge.
Cheryl agrees with you, by the way. Just to let you know, Rabbi. Cheryl agrees with you.
About what?
The movie. It's another good movie.
Oh, okay, fine. It is. So, does anybody have any thoughts on this? Actually, let's get through to the this opening bit, and then we meet the villain, who was fantastic in this. It was Harvey Korman, who his comic time was just really fair. Again, he was a Bugs Bunny cartoon character villain, and he played it so well, right? And so, let's end up at this thing. Does anybody have any thoughts on the opening? Let's go around the panel. What's people's thoughts on the opening 20 minutes or so of this movie?
In
Start
a word,
with you, Megan. I'll start with you then, Dan.
I really loved this movie. When I watched it again, you'll know, everybody knows that this movie will never come on TV ever again because of everything that happens in it.
You know what? This movie deserves not that we have theaters, but it deserves a theatrical release. I think it needs a theatrical release right now.
I don't think they will, especially in this climate.
But wow. Wouldn't that be great for the world?
It would. Yes, it would. But the first 20 minutes of it, I I really thought was very funny. And as you say, it's like a cartoon. But I've seen most of Mel Brooks's films, and every time I see an actor that he's used in the past, it always makes me smile, even before they open their mouths. Like the old guy that played the preacher. He's been in loads of Mel Brooks.
He was in Young Frankenstein, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he always makes me laugh. So the first 20 minutes, as far as I was concerned, I loved the first 20 minutes. In fact, I loved the film. So,
So is this Mel Brooks' first theatrical movie?
No.
I think it is, isn't it?
The producers.
The producers.
Oh, wow.
I think that was in 1969 with Wilder. It was one of Wilder's first, I think.
Yeah.
And Zero Mostel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his first
Yeah,
film.
that's fantastic. So, Father Miller, what's your impressions or what's your thoughts on the first 20 minutes?
Oh, dear. What can I say? I just kept thinking, and tell the governor I said ow. And the guy's repeating, and tell him I said ow.
If you haven't seen it, you really should see it. It's he's writing down this guy on the screen. He's writing down notes on what to do, and Slim Pickings is said, and tell the governor. And then the Bart sneaks up behind him with the spade, and then bam, smashes in the back of his head. And he said, "Ow!" And he says, "Tell the governor I say, ow." What?
I will say that I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but I do love how Slim Pickens asked Harvey to have that guy executed.
Yeah.
I
can't repeat the words he used.
Exactly.
But the way he does it, it's the way that he does it is just perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
Am I the only one that's allowed to say that word though? Because I'm not white.
I don't know.
What's the rules? They change every day, so I don't know. Maybe it's okay if you're like a millionaire rapper.
I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable saying that word at all.
We'll just stick with the end. Listen, actually, let's stay clear of it because we'll get the video demonetized in a second. If the bots pick that up, they're like, "What?"
Rabbi, is it true? Does anybody on the panel know? Is it true that Richard Pryor was meant to play that part? But couldn't do it? Is that true?
Yes, it's true. Yes, it is true. But he was. I think they started with him actually, but he was constantly out of it, and they had to replace him.
Say, there's too much cocaine and freebasing.
Yeah, he was very tardy on set. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. What's this guy's name? The guy with the in the middle, because he does a lot of cartoon voiceovers, doesn't he?
Which one? The one with the black hat here? That's Slim Pickings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are the sports going on over here?
He did the voice for. Did he not do the voice for the Bullets in Roger Rabbit?
I think it was a parody of him. I think it was probably somebody taking him off.
Oh, right, okay.
Wasn't he in the days? Wasn't he in Live and Let Die? Was that him?
No, that's not him. That's not him.
Well, I remember him mostly from writing the bomb at the end of Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
Well,
definitely.
Wow, I look at his filmography; it is huge.
Oh, he was in loads of westerns and things, wasn't he? That's what he was famous for, really.
So, by this time, he must have enjoyed parodying himself. Like he's definitely taking the piss out of himself at this point, right? I think it's kind of equivalent to if you ever seen it, the Seth Rogen movie, This Is the End. Which again is Hollywood very much constantly parodying itself, and I think there's a lot of Hollywood parodying itself here.
Yeah.
Dan, what's your thoughts
Mel Brooks
on
plays
the
two
opening
parts,
of this movie?
doesn't he?
Where'd it go?
Mel Brooks plays two parts, doesn't he? He plays the Indian.
Oh yes, the Indian. He's speaking in Yiddish.
It's a very clever comedy, though. That's the thing, and you know what? It's very unique comedy at that. You know, a lot of people don't realise that. They look at it and they see it at face value, but it's so much deeper than you think when you look at it very carefully.
It is clever.
Yeah, it's very clever.
You may not know this, but the Indian language that Mel Brook speaks is Yiddish, which is like this Jewish language, like made up of Hebrew and German. So that's what he says. Schwarzer. I can say Schwarzer. One word. That I can say.
It just means black.
He's darker than us.
No, because it's a pair. So apparently his mother. This is a story Mel Brooks tells. I'm not sure if it's a true story, but his mother, after she sees it, says, Melvin, it should only make $1 million. And he says, it's sunk. It cost us $2 million to make. So Dan, I'm sorry, I cut you off. You were giving your thoughts on the opening of the movie.
Is that me?
Yes.
Is that me, guys? Yes. I thought it was a painfully slow start. I really did. I think it took forever to get going. And although
it took 26 minutes because I counted.
Yeah. Yeah. It
was essentially until the point where where Bart was being hung. It was like that was the moment where it really like kicked in, I think.
But the good news is, for me, those scenes were the best looking of the whole film. I like the way that was done, where they were bouncing the song between the black guys and the nasty ones. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen this film. I saw this film originally when I was about 10 years old, and I really didn't like it at all. No, I really didn't like it at all. It completely went over my head. And over the years, and I haven't revisited it since. I'm now considerably much older than 10 years old. I haven't revisited it since. And over the years, I've thought to myself, because obviously it's continually topped all those polls for, if not the funniest film ever made, then pretty damn close. So I thought, I'll go back to it when I'm older. I'll get it this time. I'll get it. So me watching this a couple of days ago was quite monumental for me, but I found it an almost unbearably slow start.
It was a surprising. I mean, like for me again, I didn't remember like how long it was before it really kicked in. Noel, what's your thoughts on the beginning of this movie?
On the beginning, I'm just going to jump in.
Okay.
Very much. You're welcome. First, I don't even know where to begin because this is one of the, like, other than like Disney movies, like childhood movies, I think this is one of the first adult movies I ever remember watching. My dad brought my sister and I up on Mel Brooks and on Monty Python and stuff, and my mom just being constantly mortified of the things we were watching, thinking we were just out there being inappropriate 24/7. But it's like we got that it was just such a piss take on all of that stuff. But I think for me, there's like the two parts. The one where when Bart's like, looks like our drunken number 2 is away. He's all like, I don't know. Are we black? And he's like, we are. He's like, we're awake, but we're really puzzled. So like that part, and just where when Jim got on Bart about like, what the hell did you expect these people to do? I mean, welcome, Sonny, marry our daughter. Come on. I mean, they're the common clay of the West, morons. And that part was added. So Cleavon Little didn't even know Gene Wilder was going to say that. So that whole reaction to me is even more brilliant. I mean, there's just something that I swear, I don't care how many times I've seen it, I can always pick out something that I missed because it's just layers of funny. Mel Brooks is a genius because he just lets it rip on everyone. Like nobody is safe from him, and that's what a good parody is. He's just
absolutely
spot on.
I honestly, like if anybody doesn't really know Mel Brooks's work, I would say he's the Hollywood he was the 1970s Hollywood version of Ricky Gervais, right? Yeah. I think he had a similar place there.
Yeah.
Fine. So anyway, Karen.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. What did you say?
Well, I was saying, and he was brilliant about his casting choices because he got people that could pull off that dream. I mean, you've got Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn.
Was fantastic.
I mean, it's like when you think of who you would pick for a movie to be so over the top and yet play it on a level that looks like only downstated. I mean, that's what makes it extra genius. It's brilliant. I'm done.
Yeah. Again, you know, I guess that is the mark of genius going to be when there really is in this movie. There's just these wonderful layers upon layers upon layers. But okay, so let's move forward on the plot. We have.
I wasn't asked my opinion.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't asked my opinion.
I thought you did.
I'm so offended.
Fans, I found a pain.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought
sorry, because Gerald jumped in. But all I'll just say is I'm kind of with Dan. I found this kind of, even as a kid, I actually didn't like this movie as a kid. And my dad and my mom are huge fans of Mel Brooks, actually. I have to be honest, back then the jokes kind of like Dan went over my head, but again I did find it boring in parts. I can see why it gets all the accolades and stuff. It is funny, but I don't know. I think people overhype this movie, if I'm honest.
No, me too. I'm with you every step of the way. I can't fucking stand this film.
Wow!
I hated every minute of it, Noel. So no matter what you think about it, I promise you I disliked it more, and I'll be telling you why as the conversation rolls on.
That's interesting.
Damn.
I'm that far away, Cheryl. I can't throw anything to get me. Sorry, Cheryl.
Well, I
I'm done. Right, I've said my piece because Cheryl's giving me the daggers here.
Well, I watched this as a kid as well, like quite a lot of people, and I fell about. I think I was laughing for a fortnight. It was because I grew up in quite an odd household. Like I grew up with my grandparents. My grandmother was always quite a jolly type, and my grandfather was this sort of toilet humor Chinese Portuguese guy who was just had a wicked sense of humor, really, and I was allowed to watch this, and I think this film it not only appealed to my complete juvenile nature, obviously as a kid at the time, quite a young kid at the time, I was about 8 or something, that it stayed with me. It sort of imprinted on me, and I've been a fan of it ever since, and a fan of Mel Brooks ever since, and watched everything that he's done. And I think as well. Sorry?
Even Life Stinks?
No, actually, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, Life Stinks was not good.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, well, I will watch. Maybe we should do that one as well. But I will say that I think I learned more about overcoming racism in this film than probably any other thing that's ever been on screen ever since.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, racism is just together. I think that's the
it does actually show the ridiculousness of it, and that's why I think this movie is, in some ways, overhyped, in my opinion. I still think it's overhyped. Look, I mean, I watched this as a kid and I didn't like it. The bits that I watched that I had time to watch, you know, there's funny scenes in it, yeah, but overall I just don't get the hype of this whole movie, but I can, in a way, to a certain extent, understand a little bit of it. It would have been
because you're Irish.
Probably groundbreaking. But for Ireland, like, you know, Ireland is just a different.
Well, now you know why you got picked last.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Everything everything that Rabbi's just said about it being a very literate film that's actually about something, that is true, but that doesn't make it good.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it depends on what kind of humor you're into, right? So you know, that's all. It depends. If you're not into that kind of humor, you're not going to enjoy this film. I tell you, the bit of humor that made me laugh, and I was crying with laughter the first time I saw it as a kid, was the bit where he says, "Here's a laurel and a hearty handshake." That made me laugh. Because it was so clever. It was so clever. I was just crying with laughter. That I thought it was very clever. You know?
I'm hoping to be enlightened over this stream because I just didn't get it.
Did you get that joke?
Oh God, I just didn't find it funny. I didn't find any of it funny. I'll tell you what I found funny when the guy punches the horse at the end rather than the. I laughed then and no other moment.
Really?
You didn't like the campfire scene?
I thought it was painfully unfunny.
Really? Wow!
I cannot put into words how much I hate it. I absolutely hate this film with a passion.
Wow!
My word!
I'm gonna cry.
Really do.
Viva difference.
But
Look at that.
opinions. Well done, Dan. You stick to your opinion.
Absolutely.
Just to go back to what,
This is the great thing about having a panel.
just to go back,
about having a panel.
just to go back to what Ian said, all joking apart. Yeah, I do hate this film, but going back to what Ian's just said, it's right. There's nothing more subjective than sense of humour above anything else that you can possibly. And that's why I've shown up today, because I'm hoping that somebody will enlighten me. I think it was Lee. Problem being mentioned earlier on about the Warner Brothers cartoons, about the Looney Tunes cartoons. So I can get that almost slightly, but I still don't find it funny.
Well, okay, I got 4 reasons right now on the screen why this movie is fantastic.
Mel Brooks has got great timing.
Mel Brooks.
Well, you think this movie's fantastic, Rabbi. We get why you think this movie is fantastic.
Again, as I said, there's 4 reasons on the screen right now. I just shared.
I'm sorry. There's two lines for me that are 2 of the funniest things. One, when Bart's with the Klansman, he's all like, "Where the white woman at?"
Where the white woman at?
I swear to God, I pissed myself.
Wait. Did we talk about the scene yet where he arrives in the town?
Yes.
I love that scene.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just think that's one of the greatest scenes of all time. I love it when he pulls the gun out on himself.
Well done.
Or the part where Headley and Taggart are talking, and Headley's all about, his whole, word vomit and stuff. And Taggart's like, "God damn it, Mr. Lamar, you use your tongue prettier than a $20 whore." It's like, it's a direct tongue. Sorry, Father. Basically, back at the plot. The bad guy, Headley Lamar, who everybody calls him Headley Lamar. They have to move the direction of the railway, and it's now going to go through this other town. And he wants to buy up that town because the land's going to be worth a lot. So he wants to scare away all the people from the town. So they do. The first plan is they send in Slim Pickings and all the cowboys.
That's not right, Rabbi. That's not right. Basically, he wanted to put the railway through the town. That's why he wanted the town to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you didn't say that, did you? You didn't say that. You said something else.
But he wanted the railroad, but he wanted to own the town. He wanted to own the land.
He didn't. He wanted to knock the town. No, he wanted to knock the town down to put the railway through the town. That's why he wanted to knock it down.
He wanted to own the land, so he would then benefit from it.
No, but that's why.
So I had a phone call. I don't know if it was mentioned, but when the sign goes up, you can see the hand that pulled it up.
Yes. But we're nearly at. I was at that part. So that was phase 1 is like roughing up the townsfolk, which they had the funny scene where they have the 2 cowboys beating the crap out the old woman, which I just loved. And then phase 2 is he goes to the governor and gets him to assign Bart as the sheriff of this town, which will totally make everybody run away. So Bart shows up on again, fantastic scene. You have the old guy on the roof saying, "He's near," and then he's the first one who sees him that he's black, and he goes, "The sheriff's here," and there's like some sound. No,
And then he writes it down, and the band's playing. It's a big sign. It's all great, and they see him. They're like, and like everything stops, and he walks up, and
the sign rolls up.
The sign of welcome sheriff then goes up like a blind, and he's about to be lynched. So he has a plan. Out of his holster and holds it to his head and says, "Anybody moves, and the end will."
Yeah, but you missed one of my favorite lines comes before that. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Yes.
The what?
That's right. I missed what you said. Can you say it again?
Me?
Yeah.
No, Father.
Oh, I said, excuse me while I whip this out.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Okay, this is a personal story. I'm going to have to... that ties in perfectly to this. Father Miller, you especially should appreciate this. There is a very good fish restaurant in Tiberias, which is where which is by the Canary, which is where John the Baptist, I think, did the baptisms, right? So we go. So there's just coachload after coachload after coachload of Christian tour groups go there, like over and over and over again, like hundreds of them, and it has to be a very good restaurant. So we went there as well. There happened to be an entirely like a massive group of black churches going at the time. I went to the bathroom, and again, I was the only white guy in the bathroom, and I'm waiting for the sit down stall. That's what which is what I prefer. I don't like to cross the streams. So that's just my own personal preference.
No one likes urinals. Nobody really likes them.
So there's this other guy waiting for the stall with me, and his friend says, "What are you doing waiting for the stall? I thought you just needed to go pee." He says, "Oh, I don't want to scare the natives." I bet he would have scared us had he used it. So it ties into that line. Excuse me while I whip this out. He pulls out his deed, which of Sheriff, the great line, and he's obviously about to be lynched. And to stop himself being lynched, he threatens himself. And he holds a gun to his head, says, "Anyone moves, the N-word gets it." And then the crowd goes, "He's just crazy enough to do it. He might do it." Dad, you didn't like that scene?
Let me. All right, because Cleveland Little in this, I've never seen him in anything else that I'm aware of. His comic timing in it is quite delightful. I think I'm very sad to hear that he died at such a young age. Yeah. Because if I'd have had time, I haven't had a chance. I did intend on Googling him to find out what else he'd done, because I did think he was good in this. In fact, and since I was going to leave this till a little later on, but since you've put that image up of the two of them together, for me, this film comes alive when those two guys, ideally together, because they had great chemistry together. But when they're together on screen, those scenes are easily the best. When either of them isn't on screen, it's completely unwatchable for me. Everybody else there, I thought they were all uniformly, to a man and woman, terrible. But those two, you're
like the 5 out of 6 don't disagree. You're kind of like that one that disagrees.
But their chemistry between them was an absolute delight. Gene Wilder's lightness of touch and his and Cleveland Little's slightly broader but very warm performance. They stopped this film from being a total and utter disaster for me. Those scenes when they were together, they were the saving grace.
No, because the Warner Brothers executives, when Mel Brook didn't find it funny at all. They were like, "This is going to be a complete." They hated it with every ounce. But I think you're just bang on that. The chemistry between Cleveland Little and Gene Wilder could not be more perfect. I don't think anyone.
The way they only have to look at one another, and I don't know if they've rehearsed it, or whether they known each other before. I don't know, but
there was a lot of ad libbing, and they could just pick off of each other. They were just naturally playing off each other, and they got along really well, and it just showed. And it didn't.
You know what? I don't think it's that. I think it's Gene Wilder, because everyone that Gene Wilder teams up with, if you see the history of his films, he always makes sure that the person that he teams up with, it always works.
Yeah.
From every film he's in, he's really good at teaming up with people. You know, I've seen him team up a lot, especially those. There was a thriller that was directed by Sidney Poitier. He was in. I think he was teamed up with Gilda Radner or something like that, and they were perfect together. He's really good at teaming up with people. You know.
What they used to call a generous actor, Ian.
Yes, yeah, he is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia right now. And so he did, before, in 71, he did Charlie Chocolate Factory. But, okay, so this was, I think, Blazing Saddles was a big hit. Same year he did Young Frankenstein. And then next year he did Silver Streak and Sherlock Holmes' younger brother. Then it's a couple of years later, Frisco Kid. Then it's Stir Crazy. Then it's Woman in Red. Haunted Honeymoon. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Like, it just hit after hit after hit over, like, coming up to 2 decades.
I think he's just a nice guy in real life, and it comes across on screen. Right. You know?
No, everybody said he was beyond genuine, but the thing they said about him more than anything was that he never went into a movie being like he was the important part of it. He went into the movie like, I want this to be successful, so I want everyone else to be successful, and that's what makes it shine, is because there's no ego, and he genuinely is just trying to make it work, and he can somehow he's one of those people that can magically bring out the best in everyone.
Yeah, you know, I think you're absolutely right. I really do. I think you're absolutely right. So this picture I just threw up is a scene that I forgot to mention. There's this great little church scene where they're trying to decide what to do, and everybody like stands up. Did anybody notice the owner of the ice cream parlor was called Howard Johnson?
Howard Johnson,
yeah.
That's all hilarious.
Yep.
But you know,
why? I don't get that either.
Yeah,
that's an American thing, I think.
Yeah.
What?
You know, the priest in this scene, he was the guy that was in What's Up, Doc. You ever see that film, What's Up, Doc?
Yes.
He played the judge, and he played the same
Barbara Streisand and Warren Beatty, right?
Yeah, no, Ryan O'Neal.
Oh, Ryan O'Neal, yeah. Ryan O'Neal and Warren Beatty are kind of interchangeable at this point. At that point in time, but they're all like discussing what they can do, and this whoever this guy is gets up and says something completely unintelligible, and says, "Yes, that's the." Yeah. No, it's not. I thought it was Harrison Ford. Let's call him Harrison Ford. He's now called Harrison Ford, and he's like said, "Yeah, this frontiersman gibberish is absolutely correct." And,
well, he says, now who could argue with that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great line. It's a great line, and also the priest has another great line when Cleveland Little's about to be lynched when he arrives. He gets up and says, "No, we can listen to the good book." He holds up the Bible. And he's like, "You're on your own, kid. That's it. That's the best I can do for you."
One of my favourite lines is when he's with the German woman and all the lights go out, and she says, "Oh, it is true." That line made me laugh so much. Yeah.
The femme fatale of Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah. She's funny.
She's Gruber. But that essentially is the story of this movie. You have Cleveland Little. He goes to the town and everybody hates him, and he wins everybody over by being brilliant, right? And then everybody they send against him. The next first one they send against him is Mongo. Again, Mongo comes in. He's this big guy. He's like hitting horses, and he's tearing up the town and
rising on his ox.
Well, you know, he was an NFL player.
Yeah, Alex Karras.
Yeah, he was an NFL player, and he was in Webster, American.
Yeah, he was Webster's dad, adopted dad.
So there's fantastic physical humor with him, because he goes to strap on his guns. Was it when Cleveland Little gets into the sheriff's building? He finds one guy in the cells. It's Gene Wilder, who's a gunslinger, the fastest gunslinger in the West, who's now like this massive alcoholic. Yeah. So basically, his arc is that by befriending Cleveland Little, by befriending Bart, I think it kind of like cures him, right? They kind of like fade that away. which is interesting. It's only a 90-minute movie, and the first 25 minutes are disposable, I think.
The end is drags on them.
No.
It was very clever because basically it was that scene was taking the mickey out of those, I think it was the Dean Martin and John Wayne movies where Dean Martin was the drunk. Remember that film? It was kind of like parodying those films because there was two films, El Dorado and something else. They were both very similar. So it was parodying those movies with that character. So it's steeped in history, this film, and it's very clever. As I said, it's deeper than you think. If you don't get the humor, I understand that. But if you look closely, it's very, very deep in what it says.
When it talks about
racism, when it talks about parody in movies and the way the world was at that moment in time. So it's a very clever movie.
I can forgive films a lot for being this deep. What I can't forgive is a comedy not being fucking funny.
So I had to look it up. This Blazing Saddles was picked by the Library of Congress to be preserved.
I think.
Dan, are you like me? Yes, this comedy feels like it's kind of scraping the barrel a bit.
I don't know about that. It's just, maybe. I thought like the Laurel and Hardy handshake, just too obvious. Other jokes were just too sort of oblique and too meaningless.
Rabbi's attacking your Jewish sense of humor. How do you respond?
I don't know how you would pin down this sense of humor. It's not slapstick. It's not satire. I suppose it's satire.
It's Jewish, Ivy!
I just don't get it.
You know what I think it is? I think this is modern cinema feeling out how to do comedy, postmodern comedy. And so a lot of the stuff has been very, very, very overdone now. A lot of the breaking the fourth wall, that sort of, it's been very, very done to death, and it's very, very obvious. I think in '74 it was groundbreaking.
Yeah, I did try and extend generosity to that choice, particularly as I like it when the Pythons do it in Holy Grail. I love that film. That came out around this time, maybe slightly after. To me, the Python film is just a country mile better. It's aged much better. Another major problem I have with this is the direction is so flat. It looks like a TV show. And
it does. Again, it's Mel Brook's coming straight from TV.
Well, he should not have been directing movies.
He was doing Caesar. What's his name, wasn't he?
I've hated all of his films. To be fair, I've hated every single one of them.
There's no excess of all of them.
Oh my lord!
I haven't seen Young Frankenstein, and I haven't seen the history of the world.
What about Spaceballs?
Young Frankenstein is my absolute favorite film of all time.
Hated Spaceballs. Christopher.
You hated Spaceballs?
Absolutely hated it.
I love Mel Brooks. I think Spaceballs is the unfunniest movie ever, and I love Star Wars. I cannot get behind Spaceballs.
Silent movie is one of my favorites.
This guy is Rick Moranis.
Yeah, Dan, you might like Silent Movie. There's no audio gags.
There's no script in it.
The only person who says a line in Silent Movie is Marcel Marceau.
I think that even that gag is that fact. That's so self-conscious. It's such an obnoxious thing to do. It makes me want to slap.
Dan,
it makes me want to slap
it off.
It makes me want to slap Mel Brooks. I don't think this man is particularly. I think he's a great physical comedian. I don't like his brand of comedy at all. Just doesn't make me laugh. I mean, look at that face. I mean, give it a rest, for fuck's sake.
I am. Wow.
I need a bit of air here.
I have not hated anything I've seen like this since The Timeless Children and before this.
Wow!
I'm well aware. I'm well aware.
I vote we do a hate campaign against the Facebook.
There is not enough food, so I'll make you understand that.
I'm well aware, ladies and gentlemen, that I am in the minority.
No, Dan's entitled to his opinions.
No! Not anymore!
What I will say, I will admit that this is not an objectively bad film. It's a subjectively bad film, and that.
I have to say, I do understand you from a certain perspective, right? People like to go camping. People actively enjoy going camping.
That's beyond me as well, Rabbi. Totally beyond me.
Like the first season of The Walking Dead when they're camping to avoid the zombies. Mm-hmm. I would rather be eaten by zombies than go camping. I would absolutely rather be eaten by zombies.
Explain to me what is so funny about Mel Brooks playing the Indian there. What is so funny about that?
Okay. Firstly, it's that he spoke Yiddish. He had that's a very Jewish thing. That he's like that I understood what he was saying. Like, "What is this?" And that he was doing Yiddish for the Indian was I just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I mean, like, I had tears streaming down my face when the first time I saw it. It was that funny. It was like, and I still, even when I saw it again, I couldn't laugh because it was.
Why is it called Blazing Saddles when hardly anybody rides a frigging horse?
It's a western.
Not funny now.
Dan is not.
To be honest,
I hate this film.
It's so bad for you. I thought this week we'll get one where we're all happy.
I think you have to have a little bit of Jewishness in you somewhere.
I like the Irish stuff. We'll take the black people and we'll take the other, but we're not taking the Irish. I found that funny now. That was funny.
Fine. Let's move forward with the plot.
I'll stop.
So essentially, they send Mongo in to destroy the town, and there's this great gag where they use a candygram that blows up like Wile E. Coyote.
That's not funny either.
They haven't chained up in the prison, right? And he's sleeping, and he gets a pardon, and he wakes up, and they wake him up and said, "Oh, yeah, Mongo, you can go." And he just but it just moves his arms, and all the chains break away straight away. The chains were as if they were nothing; they weren't there at all. So, but he doesn't want to leave because he likes Bart. He likes the and that happens over again. So the next person they send is Madeline Kahn. Madeline Kahn, who's the German show.
The amazing Madeline Kahn.
What was all that about? What on earth was all that about?
Yeah, the only comment I had about her was the fact that she was easy on the eyes. But what was that supposed to be a German accent? And what was she doing?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I couldn't pin it down. I had no idea who she was supposed to be. What was going on?
She's the femme fatale.
Is she?
Yeah, exactly. They sent her as a femme fatale to seduce and crush Cleveland, right? And because is it true about your Snickengru? Because it was so impressive.
It's true.
Okay, I probably shouldn't.
Besotted with him.
I probably shouldn't say the line, but
it was funny. And the next morning, she's serving him these massive frankfurters with sauerkraut. For some reason, it feels like it feels like they're saying something. I just don't know what.
I don't get it. I don't get any of it.
Oh, bless you.
It's just not funny.
Look, humor is like.
Do you think that? No, but hang on. This does bring up an interesting thing. If we were born before we were a little bit older than we were when this movie came out.
It's desperately old-fashioned, this film.
Say we were in our 20s and this movie was out. Do you think me and Dan would have different opinions?
Probably.
Yes.
I think it's very, very old-fashioned.
And you're American, 100% you would. Yeah. A lot of it's very cultural. You know how Americans, a lot of the time, they watch 40 Towers or Monty Python, and just nothing happens. No smile, and they're just like, what's going on? A lot of the times they do. My wife just gets annoyed at Monty Python. They're like, well, why are they doing that?
Like seriously, I didn't understand anyone growing up that didn't find anything to do with the Monty Python cast or Mel Brook. Like, if they weren't into those movies, like, I didn't know how to connect with them. Like, I was all like, well, what do you find funny then? Because it's just, it's ridiculous.
I think it's humor that
uses a Mel Brooks or a Monty Python quote once a day in a conversation, just randomly. It just pops up.
What Monty Python and Mel Brooks do, they speak to the humor of the archetypes. You know, they take these grand archetypes and they admonish them utterly, and they break them down, and they do it in such a way it's almost clinical. And the humor builds up from that deconstruction, and I guess that's where the postmodernism comes in. But it's done in such a guttural way; it's almost instinctual. It just pokes at that. Well, for me, obviously, in a subjective way, the funny bone. It just hammers it relentlessly, and it's just like. Yeah, it is very self-aware. I do get that, but it's done in such a way. I can explain it. It just speaks to me in such a ridiculous manner. And I think because I grew up watching Fawlty Towers and Monty Python from a very young age, and watching Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein as young as I did, it just cracked me up. It was just such a moment in my life. I think it just imprinted itself onto me. So I think there was something about it that just managed to layer on these sort of ticklish moments. It was just so ridiculous, and I fundamentally love the absurdity. I love absurdist comedy. So yeah, I think it really hit home from a very young age, and I think that's it. I think. Because Dan, you watched it when you were a kid and you didn't get it then. I think that's also imprinted. So you've got a negative imprint.
Well, yeah. If I may, I knew that somebody would come back at me with that. I did try and preempt that earlier on. There are several films that I disliked when I saw as a child first time, and some of another example was the Little Shop of Horrors with Rick Moranis. I didn't like that either. Around.
I think we have an anti-Semite.
No, but I like the Shop of Horrors.
Well, if you'll just let me finish. Around 6 years ago, I saw Little Shop of Horrors again, and I absolutely loved it. I adored every single minute of it. And there's been several films from years ago that I have gone back to as an adult that I've seen greater meaning, that the comedy has really hit me. This is the outlier. This is the exception to the rule so far. I do have a how can I put this? I find westerns a huge turn off generally, but
me too.
But then again, I did enjoy the Seth MacFarlane thing a couple of years ago. I thought that was okay. What else? A couple of other comedy westerns I've seen I've quite enjoyed, So, and I do like Python. I didn't really know. I couldn't at all. You see, in the intervening years, I haven't even seen certainly taken in. This is over 35 years. I've forgotten absolutely everything about Blazing Saddles. All I remembered was there was a scene where people eat a lot of beans and do a lot of farting, and I absolutely love farting. I am British. I love farting. And even that fell, Rick and I do it better. So,
just talking American movies. Can you name some of your favorite American comedies?
No.
me generally. Well, comedies. Over the years, what can I think of? Quite a lot.
Ghostbusters,
Police Academy. Would you cast Ghostbusters? Yeah, Ghostbusters probably is a comedy first and foremost.
Yeah, it is.
So Ghostbusters, Police Academy, Stripes, and Groundhog Day. Anything with Bill Murray, really. Did I mention Police Academy? I love those. Porky's, American Pie.
Yeah.
Most Stripes again. You'll be amazed how cheap it looks. It looks like a TV production.
I can believe that. I do. I love comedy movies. Comedy is probably one of my genres of choice after sci-fi.
Right.
Maybe.
Same here.
Not everybody can like everything. It's totally cool. That's why we try and have a panel, right?
Dodgeball.
So we have different spectrum. Fine. So let's get back to the plot. The plot was Madeline Carl's now fall in love with Cleveland Little. So they decide they got to raise an army. Which again, I love this. I love this scene. They go and get every bad guy they can find. It's not just like Desperados. There's the
Methodists.
There's who was it? The KKK.
Yeah.
Just every bad guy, and every bad guy possible. It was, and the KKK had have a nice day. For some reason, it made me laugh. Yeah, I think that's one of the things I like about this movie. It's just so silly. It's so embracing silliness. I just like silliness. And they knock out the two of the robed KKK members and steal their robes as a disguise. And I can't really remember why, but they nearly get caught and they run away. And then they have this plan to build an exact replica of the town overnight. And so they recruit all the other people working on the. We got. And on the villains, it's ball dykes, train robbers, bank robbers, ass kickers, shit kickers, and Methodists. I didn't know. Father Chris and Miller, thank you very much for sending that to me.
By the time they built the false town, I was practically asleep.
So, but again, the point was that when people work together, racism melts away. Because they needed to work with each other, and they said, "Listen, we'll work with you, but we're going to have to live with each other afterwards." And what was that great line? We said it several times so far. Noel, do you want to say it? You still there?
No.
What? Sorry, what?
They said,
I just said out, sorry. What, the line, the Irish line?
Yeah, the great Irish line.
Yeah. Cheryl, you say, because you say it better than me.
Well, they're like, all right, we'll take the blacks, we'll take the Chinese, but we ain't taking the Irish.
We ain't taking the Irish.
Yeah, nobody likes the Irish, apparently. There you go.
That's because the historical concept was the Irish were the laziest people.
We built your bloody country.
I know.
You tell her.
20 years behind deadline.
What does Mel Brooks know? Yeah, I agree with you, Noel. You tell her.
The Irish built the Silk Road to China as well.
The Titanic, the Britannic, and the Olympic.
Okay, we weren't talking about you personally, though.
Don't brag about the Titanic. That didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
Well, no, neither did the Olympic or the Britannic. We can't read them.
So they build an exact. So they band together. They build an exact replica of the town.
Yeah.
And then they got to build.
But they've got like 20 minutes or something to build the dummies. They've got like 20 minutes because they get everything done and then they realise that there's no
people.
Build the dummies, which is brilliant. No, that part, I have to be honest, that part now I did love. But I have to, up until that part, it was actually funny. I did like that part, actually.
Okay. Right.
We haven't got to the end yet, but I have plenty to say about the end. It drags out. I'm sorry, but
the end again. They then descend upon the bad guys. They have a big fight and they break the fourth wall. Which again, I think it was like had never really been done before.
It is groundbreaking, but of course you have to remember we're obviously desensitized because they've broken it so many times now. So I mean, maybe this movie would have been. I would have a better opinion of this movie if I had been born, say, in the 60s and I was a teenager during the 70s when this movie was out, because I wasn't born till 79. So obviously it was a good few years before I actually got to see it. I probably would have an opinion on it, but right now, I just find the whole thing a bit. It's just look. I'm not as critical as Dan, but I'd agree with most.
Okay, nobody is.
No, but has to say, I just
re-education camps.
I don't get the hype around it. I seriously don't get the hype around that. Mel Brooks, I don't get the hype around him. Spaceballs, I agree with Jar. Spaceballs is a joke. as well.
That would be a good thing, though.
But you know, I'm not going to. I'm not. Look, I'm going to give it another watch because you know.
No,
You're not under any obligation to like it. That's really the thing. I understand it's a big
anyway, because I want to be able to just sit down and watch it fully without any disruptions.
no. Have you seen The Producers?
The old one or the new one?
The old one.
No, I've never seen the old one.
Oh, that's worth watching. That is worth watching. Okay.
Yeah, I seen the one that he did a few years ago with Matthew Broderick.
Producers, Young Frankenstein, Silent Movie, and High Anxiety.
Young Frankenstein, without doubt, is the best movie ever made, ever, of all time. Sorry, that's
What about-
fact.
What about To Be or Not to Be?
That's right, yeah.
That was okay, but I mean, I really think he went off the boil very early on in his career. Actually, you know, it's the world. I think was the breaking point. But then he then went into adapting and stuff. And also, yeah, whenever he's being interviewed or whenever he's like, he was more famous for being famous more than anything else. I think
he produced Elephant Man, didn't he? He produced the Elephant Man, Mel Brook.
He did, which is a really strange, strange thing, I guess.
Did you hear the story behind that though? When he hired, who was the director directed Elephant Man?
David Lynch.
David Lynch. Did you hear the story behind that? Basically, no. David Lynch. Well, they were looking for directors, right? And David Lynch obviously put himself up for it, and they had to sit for his film, Eraserhead. So him and his wife went into the cinema to watch Eraserhead, and David Lynch was pacing up and down, hoping that he'll get the job. And then, as the hours went by, obviously because the doors get slammed open, Mel Brooks walks up to him and he says, "You're crazy! I love it. You've got the job." And he walks off, and that's how he got the job. That's how he got the job. So there you go.
Actually, one of my favorite Mel Brooks moments ever was when they were doing a documentary on him on BBC Two. This must have been late 80s, right? And it starts off, the camera crew is setting up outside his office, and he walks up and he's like, what's going on? What is all this crap? And he's like swearing and everything. He's like, wait, are you filming? Has anybody seen this? I can't even remember what this is from. And he said, wait, you're filming? He said, okay, let's do it. I'll do it again. He walks back and he comes up and goes, he's singing Hallelujah, Hollywood. And he walks up and he goes, oh, what a fantastic surprise. I'm so glad you're here. Again, one of my favorite Mel Brooks moments ever. So anyway, so the movie breaks the fourth wall. The fight bursts out into another soundstage where they're filming a big musical number, directed by Dom DeLuise for some reason. I just think everyone who just wanted to be in this.
Why not?
Captain Chaos.
Actually, you know what? We really should do Cannibal Run at some point.
Oh, yes. Cannibal Run.
Yeah.
Cannibal Run 2 was better, actually. I think Cannibal Run 2 was a better movie.
That's a funny film. Now we're talking.
And yeah, they break the fourth wall, and Father Miller just sent me the line, which is fantastic from there. When the fight breaks through, they hit Dom DeLuise, the director, and all the men in top hats.
Come on, girls!
They hit Buddy! Come on, girls!
I work for Mel Brooks, and he punches your man in the stomach. That's
I don't think he got hit in the stomach.
Oh, he got hit in the. Oh, yeah.
He got a little bit lower.
He got hit in the lower region.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. What's the turnpike scene?
You know, when they trying to stall for time to prevent them from getting to the town, they set up a turnpike. Time.
Have I lost my internet again? Oh no, good. They try and stall for time, and so they set up a toll booth. Through it.
There's a guy actually. There was a guy who was just a walking past member of the public. He was he was constantly in shot, and they tried to get him to move out the way, but he kept walking back and looking at what was going on, and it stayed in the movie. It's quite a legendary bit of Hollywood folklore. You know, he just stood there, just sort of gaped at what was going on, and he kept coming in the scene, so they just kept him in there. I thought it was
really
a bit of trivia. Okay. Yeah.
Bit of a segue, but my favorite piece of Hollywood lore about somebody not being in the scene they should be: 3 Men and a Baby. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
So there's a scene in it, it's out in the middle. There's a girl standing in the background, or a kid standing in the background of a shot, and that kid looks very much like a kid who died in that apartment.
They know what it is now. They know what it was. They know what it was.
Oh, what was it?
It was basically a cardboard cutout of some film that was left in the background, so it wasn't a ghost. There you go. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Was it? What's the thing?
There's always a logical explanation.
Oh yeah, everything else boring with the explanation. But and then the movie ends up when the bad guy Hedley rushes to the Chinese theater in Beverly in Hollywood and watches the end of the movie. Cleveland Little finds him there and shoots him in the groin. Then for some reason he goes back to the village, the town, and he rides off into the sunset with Gene Wilder, and then they get in a car and drive away. in
a limousine. I love
that. Okay, so let's go around the panel and talk about the ending. The ending, I think, is probably the most contentious part. I think it's probably going to have the least supporters. So, Father Miller, I want you to go at the end because I know you're going to be enthusing. So, Mega Geek, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the ending?
You know what? I thought it was very clever at the time, as you guys say, that this film was made a long time ago, and it was one of the very first films to break the fourth wall. I think I'm not sure though about that, but I thought it was very clever towards the ending. How they just smashed, they went to the studio and smashed the whole thing up, and I just thought it was funny. I just thought the whole scene at the ending was funny. I didn't like the bit where they got into the limousine. I thought that was a bit pretentious, as somebody pointed out. But I thought it was very funny how they were watching the film and the way, Bart kills Hedley. And he tries to get the taxi, doesn't he? It's like taxi. Yeah, Hedley's, flagging down a taxi and stuff like that. I thought all of that was really funny. But as Dan points out, and as we all point out, humor is very subjective. And what we find funny, other people don't find funny. But I love the ending. I like the film. It made me laugh. So there you go.
Yeah. Problem being, what's your thoughts?
Yes, I thought the ending was, when I first watched it as a kid, confused the hell out of me. It was my least favorite part of the film. I loved how it all broke out into the studio, but I was so in love with the characters and so in love with the story, and for it to really jar you out of that was kind of a bit of a shock, which kind of tainted it for me. I remember, but obviously now I've come to love it for its absurdity, and it's quite Python-esque in its way as well. I think Python were breaking the fourth wall in terms of on screen more than
the break falls on from the beginning.
But I loved the bit where they're just riding off into the sunset and then they get out and get into a limousine. That sort of really sealed it at the end. I thought that was great. Yeah, but the whole scene with the musical performance and sorry, what was Captain Chaos's name? The guy who played the director.
Louise.
Buddy.
That's Buddy. Yeah. I find him funny in absolutely everything because I'd seen Cannonball Run as well by that point, and that whole thing. It was a bit like quite reminiscent of another film that came later on, Bugsy Malone. When they're having the splurge gun fight. It was all a bit chaotic, and I love a bit of chaos. So it was great fun.
Yeah, what year was Bugsy Malone? We were very
79 or 80, wasn't it? I think something like that.
Late, really? I guess Jodie Foster. Yeah, she can't been. It must have been around there. Fine. Okay, we're gonna wait for Dan, you guys like rev yourself up. Do you want from last? No,
I'm going to cover my ears.
No, what Cheryl will say. What's your thoughts on the ending?
Honestly, as I said, if I was born and I was a teenager back in the day, this ending would have had probably a better.
What didn't you like about
it? I just thought it was too long and overdrawn. I do get the fact that he was being clever about breaking the fourth wall, but I actually found that whole thing irritating, the whole dance scene as well, and then it just drags on and on and on. Yeah, I did like the way they rode into the sunset, but getting off the horse, getting into a limousine, that's just beyond stupid. Look, this movie, I thought was a lot funnier than I originally thought, but it actually turns out to be nothing special. I'm being honest, I just think this movie is blown way out of proportion. The ending dragged out for me.
Yeah, the ending is, I think the thing that most people would find, if they got a problem with it, it'll be with the ending. But okay, if most people like it, aren't so keen on the ending, what does somebody who's truly hated it will think about the ending? Dan, over to you.
By the time the film actually ended, I'd lost interest way before. I think Pan's people could have danced on completely naked, and I would have lost interest. It was
in their current age or in their age that they were
both. Yeah, I sincerely would like.
Let me quantify that. What about if Rod, Jane, and Freddie danced on naked? Would that help?
No, I mean, in all seriousness, I'd completely lost interest in what story there left was to play out at that point. They'd separated the two characters who were keeping the wheels on the thing for me. The action at the end, parts of that, like I say, I love the bit where the guy punched the horse. Bit more of that, and actually for the film to be properly directed, not just wouldn't it be fun if we did this? Wouldn't it be fun if we did that? Well, actually, no, Mel. Think about your entire film as having shape, and think about the medium that you're presenting it in. It mystifies me that this film has been considered like one of the funniest comedies of all time for the last 40 years. Ridiculous. It's desperately dated, desperately overrated. The ending, like I say, neither here nor there. I couldn't have cared less about what was going on. I love the sentiment behind the film. I love the fact that it is literate, that it did have something to say, and it comes from the best place. And it does have a good message if you can be bothered, if you're minded enough, if you are willing to go that extra mile to find it. It is absolutely there. But at the end of the day, a comedy that isn't funny, a film that is barely even directed, largely forgettable acting, absolutely appalling. There is no way I'd touch this film with a barge pole ever again. Anywhere near it. Yes.
Dan, don't hold back. Tell us what you really mean.
No.
Absolutely.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. As you're going on,
her face is going red.
No. I think it's because we've been watching this. All I'm envisioning is Gordon Ramsay losing his absolute shit. What is the point of food in a restaurant if it's all shit? Like, I can just. That's how I hear it.
Don't come in here with that cowboy hat on, or I'll shove it up your ass. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Yeah, I could go for about 2 hours about why I hated this film so much. I thought it was appalling. I really.
Oh my god! Look, isn't it amazing though? Like we can fundamentally, utterly disagree, but yet look how amazingly we still remain friends.
Yeah.
For the people who love it, can you see how dated it is? In its brand of comedy.
Dan anymore.
In its brand of comedy.
Father Miller says no, it's not dead. It's not.
I think it's more relevant than ever.
Both in its brand of comedy and in the way that it's made. It has not aged well at all.
Wow.
That's one thing I agree with.
think the content reminds me a lot of what I see on YouTube with Karens. So I mean, it's still like that. But I mean, I will say, because I know Noel had his very strong opinion. For me, the weakest part of the movie was the ending, just because I found it the least funny.
It was a cop out.
I respect you 100%, completely disagree with you on how not funny you think it is, but I get why you feel that way, and that's okay, because I think there's just some movies and there's some directors, some actors and stuff where it's like it just doesn't work for some people with their personality. They can find other things and other kind of similar content funny, but it just doesn't work. And I think what's great is being able to talk about a movie where you have a couple, like you, who, I mean, nothing about it is working. Noel has like, I don't know, 10 minutes worth he can tolerate. And then the rest of us are like,
I love Gene Wilder. I love Gene Wilder and Cleveland Little. I thought they were delightful in it.
Yeah, my favourite scenes, actually, to be honest. And I did love the showgirl, by the way, but that's just that's just a personal preference, but we won't go there.
It's honestly also amazing when you look at the cast that
there was a good cast.
Almost all of them are deceased except for Mel Brooks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, actually.
Oh, God.
I think Mel Brooks passed away, didn't he?
Huh?
Didn't Mel Brooks pass away recently?
No, that was Carl Reiner.
Him and Betty White are like invincible.
No, you're right, I'm thinking of
Reiner. Boy, for a second there, I was like, is Mel Brooks dead?
Yeah, because Gene
I got it mixed up.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty much in the same place as you with understanding why somebody wouldn't like it. I personally love it.
So you can't speak ill of the dead.
Let's have our final summation on a high note. Father Miller.
Well, I was going to say,
tell us your thoughts. Tell us your basic thoughts on the movie. Why you love this?
Miller. Miller.
Yes, I was going to say the film that hasn't dated well for me is Men in Tights.
Yeah,
I watched that. I watched that for the first time in a few years, and it just screams 90s. But I think the final scene where they're where he's talking to the townspeople and everybody's looking on, Brooks is looking on, the German is looking on. That part didn't really do much for me. But I love the canteen fight.
Yes.
And how before that happens, Hitler is talking about how they lose me after the bunker scene.
Oh, yeah, the bunker scene. That was so funny.
But yeah, I was born in 1974, so I'm as old as this movie. And I would say it's definitely on my top 10. But I also, Dan, love Fawlty Towers. I have the box set of Fawlty Towers. I just bought Are You Being Served? I love the thick of it. I love British comedies.
Quality.
I love British comedies.
Oh, will you come on my channel and talk about Are You Being Served, Father Christopher Miller?
Oh, I want to talk about Are You Being Served as well. I'm a huge fan.
But I also just finished watching for the first time One Foot in the Grave.
Oh, no way.
I had never seen it before.
Oh, brilliant.
And now it just brings back the Father Ted scene where he's in it. So
have you seen Keeping Up Appearances as well?
I could not get into that one. But Mel Brooks, British comedy, Monty Python, they all go well for me. I fall into all those categories.
Did you watch Only Fools and Horses?
The what?
Only Fools and Horses.
I started to watch that. I got maybe 2 episodes in, and then I got switched over to something else. So I'm working my way through that.
Steptoe and Son is another good one.
Fools and Horses is slow, but it's worth sticking with.
Yeah, I'm going to continue with it.
Hello as well. You have to give hello.
Right. I've seen...
Yeah. But I'm going to show a poster of the movie that we're doing next week, and I want to go around the panel and get everyone's like quick impression if you know it, and if you want to join us, so you're all all welcome. So this is next week's movie.
Love it.
Yes, I love this film. It's a Terry Gilliam.
Okay, what's your?
Sorry. Hello.
The Rabbi
froze up.
He's probably.
I think he wants. Yeah, he wants to know your general impression. I think.
Oh, I didn't think much of this movie at all when I saw it.
Okay. The week after this, we will do something that you like. Okay, I know.
I like this
movie. Okay, whatever it is, it's got to be something you like.
Right.
Problem being, what's your thought?
Oh, go ahead.
This was, I mean, obviously, I grew up as a very big fan of Python, and I love this film. I think it's one of Terry Gilliam's best and most underrated films. I absolutely love this. It's visually stunning, even stands up today. It's, again, very absurdist. It's crazy. It's a crazy film, and I love it. It's a film that speaks to your inner child, and it really is bonkers. It's a great, it's a bit like a modern day version of Candide, only with, Voltaire's Candide, only with more sort of fantasy rather than historical accuracy. I think it's great. It's insane. I love it.
Okay, now I've never felt so stupid talking about a movie, but okay. Dan, what's your thoughts on the Adventure of Munchausen?
Are you ready, everybody? I saw this at the cinema when I was about 15, when it first came out, and I liked it, and I've seen it a few times since. I own the DVD. I haven't seen it again though for about 15 years, so I've always liked it, but I can't remember a great deal about it now. So we'll see.
Same here. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Father Miller, what's your thoughts on this movie?
I love it. I mean, I really love Gillian's trilogy between Time Bandits, Brazil, and this. One of my favorite scenes from this movie is the Robin Williams, where he's the sun god or the moon god or whatever it is.
The King of the Moon.
King of the Moon.
King of the Moon with a detachable head.
But I would love to join next week, but I'm on vacation. I'm going to be out in Philadelphia for the next 2 weeks.
So you enjoy your vacation. If you get to a connection, and you want to come, you're always welcome in the video vault. No. And Cheryl, what are your thoughts on the Adventures of Munchausen, if you have any?
Right, here's the thing. Never heard of it. So, but it sounds interesting.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I'll be up for watching this. It'll be my first time, so I'll be a newbie.
Oh yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. Cheryl, have you seen it?
I've never even heard of it.
Oh my god, it's so freaking crazy.
No,
but somebody said something about it being part of like Time Bandits, and I hated
No, it's just kind of like thematically in that group of 3 movies. You did Time Bandits, Brazil, and this one. Brazil is like a really depressing, crazy 1984 type movie, and this is the mirror image of it. It's just very, very joyous. It's very, very joyous. We'll give it
a go. Yeah.
Great. It's bonkers. It's bonkers.
It is bonkers. Yeah, we'll give it a go. We could do it.
It's a fantasy comedy stroke adventure story.
We'll try find it. Might be on Netflix or something.
And visually, it's a visually beautiful film.
Don't worry, I'll give you a link.
The Fisher King was better.
I have got copy in my hard drive, I'm sure. Fine. So there we go. That is the Video Vault's take on Blazing Saddles. I want to thank everybody who joined us in the Video Vault this evening. It is Friday evening. It is the beginning of the weekend. There is so much great content on YouTube coming up right now. I don't know whose channel you're going to go to next. I am offline. I am enjoying the Sabbath at this time, so I have no idea what's going on in the world. Anything could be happening, and I won't know about it for 25 hours.
How's that going to work with Gary's stream?
Gary's stream is on Saturday night, and it's on West Coast time. So I just finished Sabbath.
Okay.
And it just things right in there. I can get. Okay. That's the time I normally stream with Noel anyway. So it just boom works out great. So anyway, as I said, tons of great content for everybody out there on YouTube. Go enjoy. Thank you for joining us in the Video Vault, and may I wish you all a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.